Success isn't random. It follows a code. Welcome to the Conant Code, where we break down the strategies, challenge the myths, and uncover the truth in 5 minutes or less. Now, let's crack the code.
There are birthdays, and then there was April 17th, 1965. While most 19-year-olds were back at home eating cake, chasing girls, or planning their summer road trip, James Preston Conant was crawling through the dense underbrush of Vietnam's Central Highlands, a loaded rifle in his hand and mortar fire cracking through the jungle air. It was his birthday. He had just turned 19, and he was in the middle of a war. James wasn't just any soldier. He was my uncle. And though he passed away several years ago, his story, like so many others, deserved to be remembered. Drafted young, James didn't hesitate. When the letter came in, he didn't wait to be summoned. He ran down to the recruiting office and enlisted in the Army. If he had to go, he wanted to go on his terms. He was assigned the 4th Infantry Division, known as the Ivy Division. Their motto, steadfast and loyal. Stationed at Camp Inari near Dragon Mountain in the Central Highlands of South Vietnam, James and his fellow soldiers operated in some of the most treacherous terrains the war had to offer. Canton, Plateau, Darlac. These weren't places on a map. They were fields of fire, places where every rustle could be a Viet Cong ambush, and every clearing might be booby-trapped. He turned 19 somewhere in that green hell, under fire, surrounded by fear, sweat, noise, and the constant awareness that death wasn't a maybe, it was an everyday. James wasn't a superhero. He was a kid, one of the thousands. Boys who swapped prom tuxes for fatigues, and baseball gloves for grenades. Boys who at an age when most of us were trying to figure out who we were thrown into the business of war. The 4th Infantry played a brutal and pivotal role in the Vietnam War. They weren't just holding ground. They were deep in the fight, from the jungles of Pleiku to the hills of Dak Tu. The battles weren't just footnotes in history books. They were bloody, relentless, and personal. When Operation Junction City launched, they pushed into the Tay Ninh province. When the Battle of Dak Tu exploded in late 1967, they held the line in some of the war's most ferocious combat. And in between, patrols, ambushes, sleepless nights, sacrifices. These soldiers didn't return to applause at the airports. Many returned in silence, and some didn't return at all. James was lucky enough to come home. Many of his brothers weren't. But make no mistake, they didn't come home the same. No one did. You don't walk through that kind of fire and not carry the heat with you forever. Memorial Day isn't about mattress sales. It's not about burgers and beer. It's not about a 3-day weekend. It's about remembering. It's about James Preston Conant and every other young man and woman who stood up when called or volunteered before they had to. It's about kids who traded safety for service, who spent birthdays dodging bullets, who spent holidays halfway around the world wondering if they'd ever see another. It's about honoring not just the fallen, but the shaken, the ones who came home but carried ghosts, the ones who saw too much, lost too much, gave too much. So this Memorial Day, take a minute, just one, not for politics and not for platitudes, but for the 19-year-old in the jungle, for the sacrifices that came wrapped not in glory, but in grit. And the lesson, well, freedom isn't free. The freedom to scroll social media, to walk down the street without fear, to eat at your favorite restaurant, to argue openly, to worship or not, to speak, to vote, to dream. Those aren't guarantees. They're gifts. For all the bad you see in the United States, there's a lot of good. We don't all agree. We won't. But the fight for freedom, that's something we're lucky enough to enjoy, even when we forget what it took to get it. So this Memorial Day, thank a veteran for their sacrifice and for their service. And that, my friends, is the Conant Code.
That's it for this episode of the Conant Code. If you got something out of it, share it with a friend, follow the show, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. More insights, more strategies, and more code breaking coming soon. Until next time, keep thinking, keep building, and keep pushing forward.